Okay, Duane, there is a lot. I see your concern with the protection of the all natural environment from this life level throughout all the levels of the unseen levels. And climate change has been one of the hottest topics uh, in let me say, the scientific community and many environmental organizations have been set up to uh, talk about climate change and what people should do to preserve uh, the atmosphere and all that. But climate change has now been exposed by Dr. Mann as an elaborate international money laundering, money making scheme. It's a global warming scam. So, this book is titled The Deliberate Corruption of Climate Science. So, where does the Numan chime in with his concern for the deterioration of the all natural environment uh, that is supporting life in the wake of this disclosure by Dr. Mann that it's all been an elaborate international money laundering, money making, global warming scam? And it seems there are many other things that the, 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 the controllers are pushing, falsely, uh, just to be in business and to make money. So just to be certain that the Numan is not being taken for a ride, by siding with these people. So what do you say about uh, this exposure of the climate change as some kind of international scam?
Yeah, that and so many other things are exactly that, and people are waking up to that. And so, but again, yes, this fellow wrote a book. I would suggest looking on the real side, who he really is, so he can play. They can play both sides, because they know that the world controllers know that people have become more aware, so they play both sides. And so, it's interesting that we have a system, and you talk about money, it's a money scam or whatever. Well, in one way it is that, in another way it's not. And that is that those that created the system, the money system, they created it for control. Now it's interesting that we, the people out here, the little people that support these things, we have to pay these government agencies taxes and whatever, and actually they don't need the money. Government doesn't need the money. That's a scam too, because it creates the money. It don't need it, but it makes it look as though it needs it to be supported, because again, by the very fact that people do pay the government, they pay their taxes, they pay income tax, inheritance tax, sales tax, or whatever, or for licenses and etc. That the government needs these things. No, they don't, because they create the money, but they do it to make it look as though this is how things are to be, because they set up the business world. And so you have the climate thing going on too. Well, see, they jump on all that. Uh, like there have been things in the past talking about the climate and all these things like that. And it's all one dimensional, realistically. It's all to keep people in the business world to where, well, if you buy this license over here, and even though your factory is polluting, well, you buy the license and then we'll give you the okay to keep polluting, something like that. See, it's all geared to keep people dumbed down in the business world. and chasing money too, because people, if they do save on from so-called polluting the air, they get tax credits. Oh, gee, how cool is that? Again, it's all embraced the same way, and they use every particular view and situation to monopolize, to make sure that people stay in agreement with the system they've created. It's all to that. And, people are thinking, some people get to the point where they start making a lot of money, so they start these programs on how to make a lot of money. So what they're really doing is teaching people how to chase money and have a better life in the prison yard instead of becoming more aware. And so because we've been brought up through these systems, yeah, it's a toughie presenting this to the world. And we're trying to make sense of it, aren't we, Charles? We're trying to, in every which way, you're trying to look at it and make sense of it. But guess what? None of it makes sense. We don't need any of it. We don't need technology, etc. Not the technology we have, that's for sure. There can be types of technology, but once you have the awareness, like the real guides, you don't need technology. The real guides utilize technology. They deal with it, with whatever the situations are in creation, as others have created it, because they see that they're restricted by it. So they try to show people how to become unrestricted, and at the same time utilize the technology while you need it. But eventually, just like diapers, you don't need them anymore. And so now we're so, buried in technology that we have to deal with it, you might say. As we struggle here, we have to deal with it on a daily basis and try and figure it out. But there is a better way, and it's about awareness. This is where in the past the individuals left the social scene and went out on their own. But now the world is in our face, and to reach more people, well, I use Facebook. I think Facebook is great, and it's created by the CIA and the elites. Well, that's fine, but there's the other side of it where it's reached probably most of the people here, and reaching the world, giving the world a chance. Uh, I'm earning my way. Everybody else gets to earn their way to becoming more aware. This is the adventure right now. So, these environmental things, when you look at them, for the most part, and what's going on with the global warming and all this stuff, they just do a lot of talking. And still, the factories are going on. People are driving their cars. We got the chemtrails. We got GMO food. Doesn't stop, does it? Just because they're talking and it sounds good. They get the attention of people through the media, and they hypnotize them into thinking that just by the very fact that they think that it's getting better, that it is, when it's actually getting worse. Because people don't want to see it for what it is. They want to pretend that it's all okay. And it's not about a bad or worse. Again, it's about awareness. But they don't want you to know that part. They want you to react and get involved in some way if you're for or against something. You see, now if you're for a green environment, oh, you're a good person, etc. So again, you're labeled as a good person, but a good person equals nothing. Good, bad, or indifference. It's not about that. It's about awareness, and as you have the awareness, you will learn to see what makes sense in dealing with whatever. But we have a lot to deal with, Charles, and it's not getting better. Yeah, again, we'll see what happens. But I don't really pay attention to these things because I know that they're just a big show. They're just a put on. Anything that the media broadcasts or whatever, I mean, I see it, but I don't pay attention to it because it's just it's like the movies you go to. They're fun, but these are just actors, and these people are paid. They're hired to do certain things, just like politicians. They're just actors. They're paid to play their part and to deceive others. That's what they're paid for. Otherwise, they don't get the job. That's the whole idea of the government and the whole systems. But we've been brought up to think that, oh, they're good and they're helping us. No, they do all the bad things to the world, and they don't tell people, You know, they keep that hidden from people. And these can be your neighbors, you see, but they're afraid to step up and say something because they'll be threatened. And well, that's how it is. Otherwise, you go down, you go over the falls with them, and there's no safety. You know, just like Marjorie, she made a deal with Joni. Now she's with the reptilians. So as soon as you step over from this little scene, things aren't what people think they are, no matter what you believe. So yeah, heck of a challenge, huh, Charles?
Yeah, Duane, thank you for that elaborate answer. You just mentioned something about technology being like unnecessary. Um, I just wonder what the world would look like. Maybe we'll go back to Neanderthals uh, hopping from one place to another on all fours, uh, being unsure of what life looks like in other parts of the world, and even your message will be will have difficulties reaching the rest of the world. I remember Paul Twitchell said, everything that man has done, every whether you call it scientific or technological, whatever uh, awareness that man has achieved, uh, has come through the real guides at the background, prompting man, showing him another view, uh, how to go a step further in order to uh, live in his environment uh, in a certain way. So when you say technology is not even it's not needed, it's a kind of paradoxical. Can you elucidate on this some more?
Yes, is that it? No, it's very simple because that was for that time. And what Paul expressed for that time, that was for that time. And like I've written and stated many times, I'm rewriting history, and is that this is the new nowness. So everything up to this moment is something that has been, okay? And just like the days of masters and gurus are gone, they don't work anymore because life doesn't recognize them. At that point, it was okay. We played patty cake, we played babysitter, and so did Paul, etc. But at a certain point, okay, when I came in and I started to recognize this how it is to be. That's it. All that's done. So you can bring up all the old wisdom, you can bring up all those stuff and what was said and etc. from way back when, but you know what? They don't work anymore because it's all about your real awareness right now.
Okay, then, thank you. We've been looking at the activities of man, and I see one pattern working out in various forms. People have different ways of expressing what their innermost desires. Everybody's innermost desire is a freedom to live free uh, of everyone and everything. And this freedom, I see it is expressed in various by people in various ways. You know, um, I've been inspired to think to think this way from what I've read here about real freedom. Like you say in the real far country, real freedom is what every person seeks throughout throughout their search for the great reality. Real freedom consists of in having the possession of a will for the great reality that, that gives one a sublime freedom which at any time can be exercised at one's own discretion. So uh, I see many of the upheavals that are taking place around the world. Uh, People rising against governments, people going about their activities in various uh, ways. You know, as some latest snippets of this freedom that we're talking about. I think it must begin somewhere. It must start somewhere. So, what do you say about this?
Yeah, this whole idea of freedom is very interesting, and it's like the love idea. It's been marketed and remarketed and repackaged and continually brought around. First of all, there is no freedom here. I don't look for freedom with what I'm doing. That's not the idea. The freedom idea is something that people chase in their personal lives. An idea is that, oh, gee, if I get a better job, make a lot of money, I'll have the freedom to do what I want. And so, yes, that's true. You have the freedom to do what you want to a certain extent, because again, you're in the prison yard, but you don't know that. So yeah, the prisoners in the prison yard, they get to play basketball, they get to talk to their friends, they get to exercise, they get to lay in the sun and read comic books, whatever. Okay, so it would seem as though they got the freedom to do what they want. All right, fine. All right, it's nothing is negated, but the idea of freedom really it doesn't exist here at all. You can walk up and down the street and think, well, I have the freedom to do what I want, or I don't have to work, or whatever. Yes, you do have the freedom to do that, but that's not really freedom. That's just a choice you're making while you're here in creation, because everything is effect in creation. You're dealing with cause and effect, and everything is the effect. So people have been prompted. In other words, when you see people rebelling, or just like recently China with millions of people in the street about the banking system and all that, again, what are people looking for? And when people think of the idea that, okay, if I make more money, I'll have freedom. Freedom to do what? To create more situations that you're restricted by? Realistically, that's it, isn't it? It's not usually the freedom to take the time to study and learn how to become more aware. It's usually not that, isn't it? But just adding more stuff to your life as you get older and more routined and fossilized, and finally forget that you were ever here. So even the reference that I've created as real freedom, because uh, that references the real universes, because there is no freedom here. Even though it's in the United States, it's home of the brave, land of the free, home of the brave, whatever. No such thing. Uh, but these are cute ideas, aren't they? So again, I utilize these things in a particular way to give people a reference and a comparison, and that is that for myself, I don't at all look for any type of freedom here. I simply look to for different ways to present something that can make sense with what people are going through, that misunderstand why they're here and misunderstand the society they're living in and have no idea who they are at all. And so the worldwide educators, as an example, this position, this idea created, uh, that's not the idea. And the real freedom idea is really about recognizing your real awareness. To have real freedom, you must recognize your real awareness. It's not here, and it's not in the five bodies at all. It's in a position, and you were mentioning, gee, are we to go back on four legs or whatever? Again, you're thinking of creation and the body world. I'm looking at getting through this process to a better and better position for people, educating them, kind of like when you went through first, second, third, fourth grade, whatever. You went through a process to eventually you got through the process. And so that real freedom is something you can't even imagine. And guess what? It's better than that. The real freedom idea is only a reference. That's like talking about love. The difference between talking about it and getting all excited and actually having the experience of it. They're two different things, aren't they? So the thing is that real freedom is a position within your real awareness to be recognized. And when you do stand real with that and recognize that, you're not thinking about freedom. You're seeing what the whole of life is. That's your focus. For me, I see what the is sees, and that is that it's all about survival. So I support the is and what it sees. So coming back to the earth and what we're dealing with here, fine, you can chase the idea of freedom, and this is what the business people do in the world, promoting the cabal system. It's like, sell these houses and make more money, and you'll have a freer life. You'll have freedom to buy the car or whatever you want. Those are choices. That's not freedom. There's a difference. Yes, and just like people tag love on everything, or God, or soul, or spirit, or spiritual, or whatever, they tag these things on people. Those are just tags. And so you got the little freedom tag. It's just selling a product. You're not going to have any more freedom. You're going to make more money. Guess what? You're going to pay more taxes. You need another bookkeeper, etc. Or you got to figure out ways to hide your money, and you're going to go buy more things that are going to be more junk that you're going to put in your garage and then rent storage units later on with. Where's the freedom in that? It's only going to lead to more restriction. It's all about your real awareness. But making the choice to do those things is fine too. And I take on a lot. I purposely do. And so again, nothing is negated. It's just how it can be utilized. But the freedom idea is a fabrication. And I would say it would be better to learn about your real awareness, focus there, get involved with what we're doing so that you can, it's like a team effort, kind of like the football team. You can have two or three players, but if you've got I think it's 11 guys out there or whatever it is, doing whatever, they're going to make it to the goal line. And it's a lot more fun. So, yeah, this freedom thing, it's a marketing ploy. Most of these things are their marketing ploys. They market people. They market people's ideas, freedoms, whatever. And today we're an indoctrinated, literalized society to where, all you have to do is think and it's magically okay. So you don't have to be bothered by the chemtrails in the sky. You just don't consider them. You think it's going to be okay. And gee, it's the U.S. government doing it. So it's a good thing, you see, and it's in the textbook. So all you have to do is think it. And so, yeah, it sounds like I'm a little sarcastic, but you know what? It's there is so much nonsense going on, and people chase it, and there is no freedom. You can give up your chase, learn to become more aware, be now, take a look around, and decide to do something real. You can, create a new life at any time, or you keep doing the same old routine, the same job, looking at the same whatever, thinking that, oh, someday when I have time, maybe when I retire, gee, I'll read one of Duane's books, or maybe do the new you. But in the meantime, I'm really busy, supporting the system. Yeah, so much for freedom, Charles.
Yeah, thank you, Duane. Thank you very much for your elucidations.